Hey guys, my name is Bando, this is Brexit Bando. This is the second time I'm recording this video because I'd recorded it, got interrupted, finished recording it, started editing it before realising I'd forgot to unmute my microphone. Yeah. So, Bolt Action 3rd edition has finally gone up for pre-order, and I thought we could go through what's available. Now, if you aren't aware of what Bolt Action is, it is a World War II tabletop skirmish game very similar to Warhammer. It was created by several former GW staff members, and it is what is considered probably the second most well-known war game for normies. It's the one that's probably got the most high street high street appearances. It's quite regularly found in places like bookshops and comic book shops now. Warlord, they're a Nottingham based company, and they've been very good at kind of chasing that GW market. So, 3rd edition. It's been a while since 2nd edition was released. It doesn't have a 3-year cycle like 40k does. Warlord only seems to release an edition once enough FAQs and all that sort of things have come out. It's been... it's easily been over 5 years. It's definitely been over 5 years since 2nd edition came out. I'd hazard a guess it was closer to 8. I can't remember the exact date though. So, what we've got is 3 kind of bundles. To start with, we have a standalone rulebook for £35. And these prices are all from Warlord directly. You will be able to get them cheaper from third-party retailers. It's a hardback book with all the rules, and I hesitate to call it fluff because it's a historical war game, but with background, some fantastic artwork. They use a lot of the artwork from the Osprey historical books, so if you've ever seen those in like a W.H. Smith's or something, the Osprey guys work really closely with them. It also comes with Francis S. Curry, a special edition miniature. They usually release army books, rule books with a special edition model representing the faction in the book. Francis Curry was a Medal of Honor. I don't know if he was a recipient or he definitely was a nominee. I think he was a recipient. And he's pictured there with his rifle grenade on the right there. The book comes with basic army lists for England, America, Russia, Germany, and Japan. These are very similar to the indexes you'd get at the beginning of a GW 40k edition, and they are just a basic army list of everything that's in the army, but it's a basic army list just so you can play the game. They are very quickly superseded by independent army books, which will have a lot more interesting in-depth rules for that faction. You usually only get the one army book during an edition. It's very rare that they'd ever get replaced, and they are quite good. They've got a lot of fluff. They talk about the battles, the major battles that that army was involved in. They go over details of things like certain regiments, important people, important dates. So there's a lot of background in there for you to find interesting things to make your armies from. For example, myself, I read there's a tiny bit in one of the books which mentioned the 2nd Marines at Saipan. Well, the 2nd Marines were a non-white regiment, and they were the only non-white regiment to see combat in the US Marines, because they were an ammunition, logistics regiment. And I thought, that's fantastic. That's fluffy. It's interesting. It's narrative. It's not going to be something you see on the tabletop. So I actually used one of those limited edition models, which was Chesty Puller. And I shaved his head, and I painted him black, and I gave him a nice big bushy moustache, and he was my senior officer. It's definitely an army I want to go back to. So the rulebook, nice hardback rulebook. They're always good quality prints. It looks a little thicker than the last one, which is nice. But if you do not want to pick up a £35 rulebook, you have a new starter set, which is just to the right, which is the Battle of the Bulge. Now, Warlord has done several of these starter sets. They've had one for North Africa called Gentleman's War, one in the Pacific called Island Assault. They've had the assault on Berlin between the Russians and the Germans, and they've had Operation Overlord, the D-Day, with the American paratroopers. So lots of really interesting sets. This one has pretty much nearly all new miniatures in it, so let's take a look at those. It is a matchup between Winter Americans in their greatcoats, and they look fantastic. This is a model kit that used to be available in metal and has now transitioned over to plastic. Warlord plastic is brilliant. If you've built Imperial Guard, for example, from 40k, you very much know how to build Warlord's plastics. The only difference is sometimes some of the arms have separate guns so that you can swap them out for what you want to put in there. But it's all very easy. So you get 30 of them, and there's parts on the sprue to assemble them into all sorts of different variants. Now, your average squad is going to be armed with rifles, but it will be able to take things like an automatic rifle, which is that 1918 BAR. You can see the guy in the middle who's kneeling down holding. And you can also give your NCOs things like Thompson machine guns or grease guns, depending what you want. They're all the same thing in the rules. You may be able to take squads that can take more, or more weapons or less certain weapons. But the plastic kit, we'll go through the sprue in a minute and have a talk about that, because it's a very nice sprue. But these guys are going to be wildly popular. And the good thing is that they can also be used for the Korean conflict, which is also another set of rules that Bolt Action has. And I'm sure someone's going to use them for Conflict 47, which is the kind of weird war, after, like 1947 onwards, but like mechas and zombies. The thing I can't stand. And facing off against them, we have, you guys see some close-up shots. We have some brand new German paratroopers, the Fallschirmjäger, but in winter coats. So they've had a regular kit available in plastic for quite some time. I've actually got one in a box behind me that I've been meaning to work on. I was going to try and do a video showing how to paint this camo pattern, which is actually one of my favourite camo patterns. Splinter Muster B. You can see here they're wearing the Luftwaffe blue. I must admit, the painting on these guys is not great. They definitely don't sort of show off the models particularly well. I don't want to knock anyone else's paint job, but this is not great. I've seen better. And if I was doing, my box art, I probably would have hired a bit of a better painter. Now you can see here some of them have got captured weapons. The Fallschirmjäger were well known for capturing and using other people's weapons. They did like that. They liked their submachine guns, and they used to carry a lot of weapons. And you can see a nice eclectic mix here of FG-42 assault rifles, STG-44s, MP-40s, Kar-98s, MG-42s, and even some Panzerfaust, which is pretty cool. They've even got a Sten gun and a Papasha, not the Papash, the Commie Tommy. It also comes with an M8 Greyhound, which can be assembled either as an M8 Greyhound or an M20 Scout Car. It's a nice kit. We'll do a couple of these where they are sort of dual unit kits, which were based off the same chassis. This is the only bit I don't like about this set, and that's because it's a little bit unbalanced. You have 30 infantry, American infantry, and American infantry are already good. They don't suffer any movement penalties for shooting because of their M1 Garands. So you've got a good faction made better with an armoured vehicle, but it's clear that the paratroopers are supposed to be a veteran force. Now, the way you pick units in Bolt Action, you choose the unit you want, so a rifle squad, and then you choose the level of experience from inexperienced up to veteran. So and that basically affects dice rolls. So an inexperienced unit is cheaper, but they would suffer worse dice rolls. They get -1 to most dice rolls. Regulars, nothing happens. Veterans, they get +1 to a lot of things. So these guys are going to be tougher. They're going to be harder to make fall back. They're going to hit easier. Plus, they are armed with the Panzerfaust, which means they are any one of the guys carrying them, and depending how many there are, I can't remember. I think you could take I think every man in the squad can take one, or it might be like 5 out of 10 of them can take them. I just remember I had a lot of them when I was building these guys, because the Fallschirmjäger were actually my very first bolt action army back when they were a metal force, and I had a Dremel and no sense of personal safety. So yeah, I know they can take a lot of them. So any one of these guys, like this guy here, could technically kill this thing, but that heavy machine gun or that light anti-tank gun are going to do some serious damage to it. You also get a nice A5 rulebook. Now, if you guys came into 40k around the same sort of time that I was playing it seriously, about 5th edition, you'll be familiar with these sorts of travel-sized rulebooks, and they were great. Nice and small, they fit inside a carry case with the rest of your models, so you always know you've got your book there. It's got a nice sort of reference sheet as well. I'm going to assume that's going to have things like campaign missions on it, maybe some painting guides on there. And you've also got decals, American vehicle decals, which are really useful. Good quality decals as well, not like some really cheap nasty ones that you get in some model kits. But you also get all the rules for the unit in the box. So vehicles come with the cards which show you everything about that unit, which is a really nice touch. I'd love 40k to pick that up. You also get some like special effects like smoke and fire. They can have an effect in game, like if you use a mortar and fire smoke, you're supposed to put a marker down, and you could use that. But these are more for like, oh, you've blown my tank up, I'll take the turret off and put the smoke on there to show it's blown up. Because again, like 30k, it's a relatively narrative game. On the left, you've got some dice. The 2 different coloured dice are your army dice, and each unit you have gets 1 dice. You put those into a bag, you mix them up, and you and your opponent take turns pulling 1 dice from the bag without looking. Whatever colour you pick out, that's the unit that can move. So I pick a green one. Oh, my American unit, I can pick any of my American units to move. But if I, and my opponent draws a dice and it's another green one, I get to move again. If I then pull a grey one, he gets to move. It's a really good system. I really enjoy it. There was a bit of a hiccup during 1st edition when they changed the shape of the dice, but they've got these nice smooth cornered ones now. So it looks like you get 3 units for the Germans and 5 units for the Americans. Plus some regular dice. Those grey bits are templates for explosive weapons and other bits. And the red bits on the right, those are your pinning markers, and those are to indicate when a unit's been shot at, they're feeling a little bit shaky, and they get minus rolls. So whenever they try to do something, they've got to take a leadership test, and the more pins, the less likely they're passing that leadership test. So, keep shooting at the same unit over and over again until they can't move anymore. You can see all these lovely, great, good quality colour pictures in here. Lots of painted examples of all the different units. Some great terrain. And again, bolt action, terrain's a really important part of this game. You also get some terrain. It's not the best. It's actually in the wrong scale. I believe it's made by Italiari originally, and it's like 1/72 scale ruin. So it's a little small for the guys to be running around, but maybe it's like just a really old medieval French hovel or something, and they were really small back then, we don't know. It's an okay kit. It's good if you've never played a war game before and you just need a little bit of something to, fill out your table that's made up of a couple of Coke cans and some, books and stuff being hills. We've all been there, don't worry. But it's good. Mount it to a little base and you're fine. They give you a nice chart on the colours you'll need. Obviously, if you're not going to use Vallejo, you will be able to find these sorts of comparisons in every other range of paint out there. So now let's have a look at these sprues. These are digital renders of the sprues, but you can see lots of options for heads, loads of different options for weapons. You get things like sniper rifles in there, heavy weapons such as bazookas, and then all the stuff to make officers. So everything you could want to make about 90% of a bolt action army is contained in that infantry box set. So, you know, you don't need to buy officers separately, you don't need to buy medics separately, you don't need to buy snipers separately, a bazooka team. It's all here. You just, you know, buy one set to be your regular rifle guys, buy a second set to be, you know, everything else, vehicle crew, you know, officers, support teams, everything. And as a kit basher, I love these sets because you can really put them together in a weird and wonderful way. No two guys can look the same if you're just a little bit creative. Onto the Jerry side, and again we got lots of different assault rifles. The FG42, which is one of my favourite Second World War rifles out there. It's a lovely looking thing. Assault rifles are fantastic. They're very powerful. It's a little gamey to take them, but some people do. And of any unit that's going to have taken a lot of assault rifles, the paratroopers were it. You can see here you've got Panzerfaust. Even have a guy with a shovel. For all you Krieg fans out there, get your shovel on. And even a grenade pistol or a flare pistol. Mortar ammunition, pointing arms, arms at rest, anti-tank weapon arms, kneeling bodies. They're brilliant. So, some lovely artwork on the front. And that's again shot of everything you get. And that is £93. I believe you should be able to get it for about £83 from places like Element. I have spoken to Element Games today myself. They've confirmed that as soon as they've got the details for what they've been given and what they're allowed to do, they're going to get it up on the website, and we'll know what we can, you know, pre-order. Now, there are bundles such as the starter set with the hard-covered rulebook, and that is £128. There are also loads of bundles with extra infantry, of all sorts of price ranges. I think I'm probably going to get this £72 one, which is just the rulebook and a box of the American winter infantry. So yeah, that's that. Other than that, what we've got coming up is the plastic Bedford QLT troop transport, which is nice to see another British vehicle in plastic. You don't often get some of the more less appealing vehicles in plastic. So that's it. That's what's coming out for Bolt Action 3rd edition. If you are maybe a little bored of Warhammer, maybe, you know, Age of Sigmar isn't sparking things for you, maybe you're just done with 10th edition, picking this up for sort of under £100, you know, the price of like a combat patrol now, or whatever you call it, start collecting a spearhead or whatever silly name GW's rebranded to them again this month. You're getting 2 armies and a vehicle and the rules. Go halvesies with a friend and learn to play the game. Because even if you've got the excuse that no one plays the game around you, if you've got 2 armies and you learn the rules, you can sit someone through a 45-minute game, hours game, and they could possibly end up really, really enjoying it. I did. I went from really struggling with 40k to playing a game of Bolt Action every week for like a whole year. It was great. Loved it. I don't know what else to say, guys. These non-40k videos don't do well. You know, I 20 minutes here, it'll get 200 views if I'm really lucky. So if you guys are interested, let me know. I'll keep making them. You know, I don't mind if they don't get the views as long as people are enjoying them. I do have a couple more videos planned on some small tutorials. One of them is painting camouflage, German camouflage, and I'll be doing a couple of different variants. And yeah, I'll probably go through the rulebook when it arrives, when I pre-order it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. If you made it all the way to the end, I do appreciate it. You are, you know, the reason I keep doing this. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and the 1.5% of you that identify as girls, and the 0.8% of you that selected other, which is weird. Yeah, I went a whole deep dive on my demographics. There's a lot of 25 to 34-year-olds of you out there. So yeah, thanks very much, guys. Keep an eye on the channel. There'll be more videos coming out soon. If you want to order this, I would wait till Element Games has it, and then you can use code JAM737. Get yourself some nice discounts. If you want to start this and you're not worried about picking us up, maybe you don't like these armies, go check out things like Gentleman's War, which is the last starter set in North Africa. It's the British 8th Army versus the Afrika Korps. It's a little better value than this one, I would say, because it has an armoured car for the Germans and an armoured car for the Brits, with equal amounts of infantry on either side for the same price. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate you all being here. Bye bye.